Let's start with this. Jacqueline du Pré's 1965 recording of Elgar's Cello Concerto. It's often described, as one of the most transformative moments in classical music. But what made this interpretation so special? Why her? Why then?
Well, it wasn't just the timing, Eric. It was really her extraordinary ability to tap into the emotional core of the work. Before her recording, Elgar's Cello Concerto wasn't exactly a staple of concert hall repertoire. It was admired, but not iconic. What du Pré did was she made it an intimate, almost visceral experience.
So she didn't just play the notes, she kind of translated the emotion behind them, right? I mean, I think it's fascinating how one performance could completely redefine a piece.
Exactly. She allowed herself to become so well intertwined with the music that every phrase she played felt alive. And, her mentor, William Pleath, once said that Jacqueline never simply played the cello, she spoke through it. This resonance, this dialogue gave the Elgar Concerto a new voice, so to speak.
A new voice that everyone wanted to hear. Wasn't it after her recording that suddenly it became this benchmark piece for cellists all over the world?
Yes, that's right. Previously, there was some hesitation to approach it. It's a deeply introspective composition, but after du Pré, it became a kind of rite of passage. Cellists weren't just playing it; they were reinterpreting it in the context of her performance. Think of it this way: her recording didn't just elevate the concerto; it also set a standard, inspiring countless others to approach it with the same emotional honesty.
And that's what I love about music. It evolves. I'm curious, do you think this happens in other areas? I mean, you've got to have some examples, Reginaldo.
Absolutely. One example that stands out to me is Glenn Gould's interpretation of Bach's Goldberg Variations. Like du Pré, his 1955 recording practically redefined the way musicians approached that piece. However, where Gould emphasized structure and precision, du Pré's artistry was more about emotional resonance. What these performances have in common is their ability to create a fresh sense of accessibility, drawing audiences into these older works in ways that felt new and revelatory.
Okay, so whether it's Gould or du Pré, you're saying that transformative interpretations aren't just about technical mastery, it's about giving something personal?
Exactly, Eric. It's about humanity. Du Pré, for instance, brought this compelling vulnerability to her playing, which made audiences feel deeply connected to her interpretation of the Elgar Concerto. And that's precisely why so many performers found it impossible to ignore. It reawakened the concerto's charm.
And to think all it took was one performance. It's incredible how one moment can have ripple effects across an entire genre, almost rewriting its history.
It really is. Jacqueline didn't just interpret Elgar's work. She kind of brought it back to life and infused it with a timeless energy that resonates to this day. Her landmark recording, released at such a young age, was a bold statement, an argument that music is, as much about emotional storytelling as it is about technique.
And the cello, in her hands, almost became a storytelling instrument, a direct channel for those emotions. That's something no sheet music could ever fully spell out.
Precisely, Eric, and it's worth noting that this mix of emotions, the passion, the pain, even the joy, elevated her playing to a level beyond just mastery. She made the Elgar Concerto intimately her own while still being true to its essence. And this balance, this emotional alchemy, continues to captivate listeners even now. And you're absolutely right, Eric. The way Jacqueline du Pré's playing drew people in. It's extraordinary. Her music didn't just strike chords, it struck nerves. Interestingly, there's actual neuroscience that explains why her performances feel so profoundly emotional.
Wait, so you're saying her music doesn't just touch our emotions, it literally lights up our brains?
Precisely, her playing activates areas like the limbic system, the nucleus accumbens. It's the same parts of the brain that handle reward and emotions. These are also linked to dopamine release, which is why people often describe getting chills or tearing up when they hear, really moving pieces.
Like a dopamine hit, similar to a great meal or falling in love. That's wild.
Exactly. And with Jacqueline's performances, it goes even deeper. Her use of micro gestures, subtle shifts in vibrato, changes in bow pressure, and deliberate silences, these can resonate emotionally in ways that words or techniques alone can't.
Those silences, though, sometimes they're louder than the notes themselves, right? How does that even work?
It's powerful, isn't it? Silences create anticipation. They give our brains a moment to process, to imagine what's coming next. And that moment of introspection can amplify emotional impact. It's like she's crafting this dialogue almost between her, the music, and the listener.
So it's not just about what she's playing, it's about how she makes us feel what she's playing. That's amazing.
Absolutely. I'll never forget this one time I was in med school preparing for exams, drowning in stress. I listened to her Elgar recording, and I don't know, Eric, it moved me to tears. It was like for those few minutes, everything else faded away. It was cathartic.
Isn't it incredible how music can do that? Helps you focus or feel understood, all at once, like a kind of therapy in sound.
Exactly. It connects with both the cognitive and emotional parts of your brain, and that's why her playing stays with people. It's not just music, it's an emotional story. Du Pré's ability to bring that full spectrum out of a piece of music isn't just remarkable, it's profoundly human.
So when we listen to Jacqueline du Pré, we're not just listening, we're feeling everything. Reginaldo, it's fascinating. This ability Jacqueline du Pré had to make us feel everything so deeply through her playing. I think part of that magic comes from how she physically connected with her cello. It was more than music. It was like an extension of her soul, her being. That's what makes her unforgettable.
It's extraordinary, isn't it? Her cello was an extension of her body. Maurice Merleau-Ponty's concept of embodied perception beautifully explains this. He believed that our bodies aren't just tools we use to interact with the world, they're how we experience it. And for Jacqueline, the cello was integrated into her bodily schema, almost as if it was part of her.
So when she played, she wasn't just performing, she was living the music in real time. That's something machines just couldn't replicate, right?
Right, Eric. AI could perhaps mimic technical proficiency, maybe even learn to copy phrasing, but vulnerability, authenticity, those come from lived experience, the suffering, joy, love, loss, all those messy human things that infuse every note. That's the essence of her artistry and of any great art.
It raises that question. What really makes art human? I mean, Jacqueline didn't just show us virtuosity, Reginaldo. She showed us her soul.
Exactly. Her silences spoke as much as her notes. It was this profound emotional dialogue and exchange that pulled us as listeners directly into her world. Those intentional pauses, they weren't empty. They were full of vulnerability, inviting us to feel what she felt.
And it's that invitation that stays with us. It's like her music calls on us to be present, to connect, not just with her, but with ourselves.
Yes, and it's a kind of connection that goes beyond words. Jacqueline's performances, they were experiences. Each note carried her story, her humanity. That's why her music endures. It's not just about her technique, it's the way her whole being became part of the music, embodying everything we find so deeply human.
So whether you're listening to her Elgar Concerto for the first time or the 100th, what you're really hearing is that connection. Raw, imperfect, and completely human.
Absolutely. It's that deeply human element that, well, makes us feel seen, understood. And it's a reminder of why art and artists like Jacqueline du Pré matter so much in a world where technology increasingly shapes our lives. Her music shows us that some things can never be replaced or replicated.
Well said, Reginaldo. Jacqueline du Pré's life and music leave us with so much to think about. Not just how we hear art, but how we connect to it and to each other. On that note, it feels like the perfect place to end today's episode.
I agree, Eric. It's been an absolute pleasure reflecting on du Pré's legacy with you and with everyone listening. Thank you for joining us.
And thank you, Reginaldo. And to our listeners, thanks for being part of this journey through the life, music, and connection of Jacqueline du Pré. Until next time, take care, and as always, listen closely.